Pros, save more on the materials you need to get the job done inside and out at Lowe's. Right now, get 10% off in-stock Trex Naturals decking, now available in more styles. Plus, get 15% off select custom entry, interior, and storm doors. Then, we'll deliver it all straight to your job site to help keep your jobs moving. Get the brands pros trust, priced right, and ready when you need them. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 5/27. While supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Quality proteins aren't just for special occasions. With Omaha Steaks, you get mouth-watering proteins delivered right to your door, individually packaged and portioned, so a great dinner is just minutes away. From Taco Tuesday to a weekend feast, taste the Omaha Steaks difference. Start getting flavorful proteins delivered today. Visit omahasteaks.com and get $35 off with promo code AUDIO at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, code AUDIO. Terms apply. See site for details.
Hey guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 69. I'm your host, Pam, and today we're going to be speaking with Berlyn Komar. Berlyn is a digital marketing strategist and founder of Planted Marketing, a full-service agency specializing in organic content marketing for purpose-driven brands. With over a decade of experience, Berlyn has helped countless small businesses and solopreneurs grow by building authentic marketing strategies. She also founded The Greenhouse, a membership community that provides affordable marketing support for solopreneurs navigating the challenges of DIY marketing. There is also in the show notes a discount code for a discounted membership. The code is podcast. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Hi, Berlyn. Welcome to You the Boss podcast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So, as you know, we like to dive right in here. So, can you give us a little bit of your background and kind of like where you're at today?
Yeah. So let's see. I got my start doing photography, and that led me to working with small businesses and doing like content creation for them, which back in the day was just like fun Instagram photos, and it was so much easier than it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So working with small businesses, they need a few people to wear lots of hats. So they asked me if I could do their Instagram and their social, and then it just kind of led to more and more marketing related tasks. So that's when I kind of fell into marketing, and I loved doing all of the things. So I just dove in and taught myself literally everything. And then in 2020, I was able to go full time, and I launched my agency shortly after that. And so now Plans and Marketing is a full service agency for purpose driven brands, and we specialize in like content marketing and community building. And then I was still really passionate about helping like small businesses and solopreneurs. So in January of this year, I launched a community called The Greenhouse, which helps people learn how to do all of their own marketing and get support along the way.
Wow. First of all, I think it's funny whenever sometimes you hear someone like start a small business and it was just like, my mom and dad worked really hard, so I wanted to do this thing. And like, that's just as beautiful. But the way that you were like, I started in in this space and I had to pivot to another space and still got back to what you're passionate about, which is helping small businesses. I think that is incredible and very unique.
Thank you.
Now, did you go to college for marketing or
No, nope. I feel, yeah, all self-taught. I've learned a lot myself. I've taken like different courses and stuff, but nope, didn't go to school for it.
so completely like self starter
Yeah.
essentially?
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. Would you say that so let me ask this. How long have you been doing this? Like through your agency, that kind of thing? Like since you started from doing the marketing for small businesses on Instagram?
I would say it's been about, I mean, yeah, 9 or 10 years now, and then it's been 5 years full time.
Wow. So COVID basically kind of put you in that. Would you say COVID put you in that space or accelerated it?
Like, I think a lot of people were getting grants and loans and stuff that year, and so I think that's what really propelled it, like, um, just yeah, I was just super busy. I was, like, getting clients left and right. I think people were obviously making lots of pivots themselves, and they were getting funding, so it was just like they needed support during that time.
Wow. Okay. One of my current favorite things about interviewing people like you in the unique position of, working for yourself and that kind of thing is that, especially now, I can't even believe it. It's been 5 years since COVID.
Mhm.
The story is revolved around, well, COVID did this, so I did this, And I think that's so cool because everyone has such a pivotal time in their life. And whether that was bad or good, either way, you came out with something.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy I mean, I'm not happy COVID happened, but
I
overall
know.
I mean, it was yeah, it worked out well for me and my clients, so here we are.
Oh, well, that's awesome. So, give us a little bit of like the day to day to what Berlin does in her business, right? Like, obviously, you make your own schedule, you have to set up your own different levels of your business. So, give us like an inside look of a day to day of what that looks like for you.
Sure. So I'm finally getting around to structuring my days of the week too, to have like certain tasks on certain days, which took me a long time, obviously, to get here, but highly recommend if you're able to get
Mhm.
your schedule into that. So aside from that, generally day to day, like I'm a zero inbox person, so I'm starting my day going through my emails, clearing that out, and then
Mm.
I'm really I think like spending time in the communities that we're in is really important. So I do that first thing in the morning. And then I get to client work and then I do that for however long I need to. Then I do plans and marketing work. And then that's basically it. I try to have shorter days. Um, Obviously like work-life balance is super important and we start our businesses for our flexibility. So just trying to weave that in as much as I can too.
Well, that's awesome. I do want to point out this is something that I'm currently, I want to say, working on. It's a work in progress. Is the structuring your schedule to do certain things on certain days because yes, you start a business for flexibility, but sometimes that flexibility turns into like 24/7 and
Yeah.
you don't turn it off and you very quickly burn yourself out. So you have to find there's different seasons for different things and so I'm currently in that stage. So it's good to know that you also have arrived to that place because I think that's really important, for the work-life balance.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard and like at first when we start we're like, "Oh, I get to do whatever whenever I want." And then but the reality is we need some sort of structure and it really helps you grow and do things more efficiently and be more productive instead of just like scrambling all the time. So, it's good to just find that system that works for you and like keep a structure with it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, do you currently have anyone that works for you or that you're working with, or are you just a one woman show right now?
Yeah, I have contractors on my team. I have 2 right now. Um, yeah, hopefully that'll grow again by the end of this year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's kind of like what we're always after is just that growth and the continuous like pushing forward because as you grow, other things grow. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, what would you say was like a recent challenge that you faced, whether it was in the agency or the community that you're building? What would you say was like a recent challenge in that work and kind of how you overcame it?
Mm. Yeah, so we were chatting just before this, and you mentioned like personal development, which is like huge in owning a business. It's like an unfortunate reality that you will have to face. And so
Mhm.
for me, I would say right now that's like selling. Like I'm not a salesperson. Um, Up until this last year or so, things have been like pretty easy on that front. Like I've had a steady stream of clients and all of that. And now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, now I have to learn how to sell. And
Mm.
be uncomfortable, like sit in that space and like see why I'm so uncomfortable with it, how to do it, how to find a way that like aligns with me and my values, but also like that keeps my business growing. So how to overcome it, I don't know. I'm still working on that piece, but that's definitely what I'm working on right now.
You know what? I appreciate the transparency of you not trying to like pretend like you have it all figured out in that sense because that's the journey, right? Like it's not so much the I've arrived portion, but like the journey of like I'm still figuring that out. I'm still growing through that portion. And on the side note of selling, I have to be like so real with you and say that for some reason, when you, not you specifically, but like as a person, when we attached the S word to things, all of a sudden I'm afraid to talk about myself.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden I'm afraid to talk about like You the Boss podcast. I'm afraid to talk about Boss Lady Pujols on Instagram. And it's like, what do you mean? I see that person in the mirror all the time. I love this person. Like selling is essentially us telling someone else why they need us. And I think when you attach the S word to it, all of a sudden it's like a little bit fearful. So good on you to just being like real of like, I know I have to do it. I still haven't fully figured it out, but I'm doing it. We're doing the thing. So good for you.
Yeah, it is really tough, and I don't know why we struggle so much with it. Like, I'm happy to talk about, like, even just in my intro, like, I can say what I do, I love, I'm proud of what I do, all of that good stuff. But then, like, the second you're like, please come, I can help you with this, please come work with me, like, it just makes
Yeah.
it so scary all of a sudden. So I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a in like the field of personal development and personal growth, it's just really getting back to like understanding the reason that you're doing it and then understanding like the why.
Hmm.
I think it really feeds like we always think about legacy being this like big long-term thing and not to say that it's not, but it can also just be what the current thing is, what your current legacy is this is who I am, this is what I do, and I know that I can help you, and this is why you should do it. And it's just, I guess, getting confident in
Yeah.
those bits of lines. So your industry is unique in the sense of like you have very specific, like probably tiers or very specific things that you provide for your clients, right? What would you say is something that helps you stay current? Because I know, especially online, it's so easy to get wrapped up in like the regular trends, right? Especially with reels and like I have a couple of small business um, owners that are some of my best friends, and they're always like, I don't want to make a reel. I'm a photographer. Like, why do I have to deal with that? So, how would you say that you stay current with like the trends and depending on the industry?
Mhm. That's a good question. I mean, trends are important for certain situations, and I think,
Hmm.
or I would say my advice is always to like be very selective with that and just make it like a small percentage of your content. They definitely serve a purpose and like helping you get more exposure, more brand awareness, but like it's not your entire marketing strategy.
Mm.
So like when I'm creating content for a client, we are always working a month in advance. So I'm planning out and creating all of like the evergreen content, and then maybe I'm leaving one spot a week, like if that, for like these trending pieces of content. And those would be like your brand awareness pieces. But even that, like if it doesn't feel aligned with you or your brand, or you don't have anything like real value to add to that, you don't need to do all the trends just because everybody else is.
That's actually really powerful because I she's kind of like a mentor of mine. I've interviewed her before on the podcast. Jen Marilla she talks about the shiny object syndrome when it comes to
Mhm.
entrepreneurs. And it's like I want to do this, I want to do that, and then like you find yourself feeling scattered. Like say 6 months from now, you're like, what am I doing? And it's so real for you to say like you don't need to do every single trend. Like it doesn't all need to apply. And if you're a small business owner, I hope that you take that away from this episode because again, we get so wrapped up in trying to be like everyone else, like, oh, that got that person noticed, so let me do it too. And it's like, yes, but also authenticity brings
Mhm.
that in, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a key note to take away.
Yeah, because the point of getting followers is for them to be, in your audience and to like go to the next step and the next step, and then eventually work from you or work with you or buy from you. So when you're doing these trends that don't like bring in your messaging as well, and then you do get followers from that, it's just kind of like a wasted engagement in a way because if you don't have followers that are like really engaged or interested in your content, then it's just gonna hurt you in the long run. So that's why you always want to bring in your own messaging to whatever you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. It's like it's kind of like a revolving door in and not having like people that really align with what it is that you're providing.
Yeah.
So what's some advice that you would give someone that is starting out in your field? Like, let's say they want to do something like planned marketing. What is like some advice that you would give that person? Give us like two or three things that you would say,
Mhm.
maybe that you've learned or that you're experiencing firsthand right now. Like, what's some advice you would give?
Yeah. Ooh, a couple of things. What's most important? I would say the most important is one, just obviously learning. So, yeah, I didn't go to school, but like college traditionally, but I did take lots of courses. HubSpot is really great, and I would recommend that for like marketing or not. If you're doing all of the things on your own, like that's a really great place to get education from. So, definitely staying updated, reading recent resources. So, marketing, like why I didn't really want to go to school for it is because it's changing every day these days. Like, I feel like by
Mm,
the time you finish school, it's going to be almost irrelevant. So, that's why just make sure that the resources you're using are super up to date. And then I would say joining different communities or like networking groups or something that's been the most powerful way to like grow my business and build connections and referral partners. Because social media alone is like pretty challenging to grow on from nothing, like if you're building your audience from scratch. So finding different resources to kind of make those connections earlier on, I would recommend doing that.
you know, I really love that you mentioned the community portion because I think now more than ever, that's something that everyone is craving
Yeah.
in their brand, in all of the pockets of the world. They're looking for community, they're looking for somewhere to belong, basically.
Hmm.
But also, I also want to pivot on the first thing you said, where you said, like, you're gonna go to school, and by the time you come out, the information is, like, obsolete. Like, it's like and I don't think that's just in marketing, but that's probably a different rabbit hole as it is. Um, but it's so real because there's a lot of people who have gone to school for different things and now they want to pivot into something else and they just have to put in that work, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
How so obviously there's a portion of your time in your business that's dedicated to evolving your business. So how often would you say you go in to learn something or to elaborate on something that you've already learned? Would you say that's like a once a week thing? Is it an all the time thing?
Yeah, I have not been great at this at all, which is why so we just talked about like structuring your weeks. So
Mhm.
every Fridays I've decided is like a community and education day. So I'm in a lot of communities where they have like webinars and things like that. And so my replay lists have just been like growing and growing. So I'm gonna start making every Fridays like education days where I'm watching these resources from the communities, or I'm going to other resources like HubSpot I mentioned, or just staying up to date with what's happening. So now it's once a week, but have not been good at it at all.
And again, I think so one of the reasons that I wanted to interview you is because of that level of transparency of just being like, hey, on Thursdays, and I will put these resources in the show notes, but on Thursdays you create this community, and I think it's like a virtual working space,
Mm,
and you have that, and then you have the transparency point of like, not only can I help you level up, but I'm also going to be real about like I'm learning and growing along. So like staying in the know to help, your clients do that. And I think that's a very important thing to say here on this podcast, because people think that bossing up is like a one and done. They think
mhm,
that like once you've experienced this one thing and it's taught you this lesson, that's it. I'm done. I'm good for life. And the answer is no. You are continuously learning. You are continuously evolving. And congrats to you for saying, like, in the point of me being an entrepreneur, I've also had to learn to do these things. And here I am being transparent and like, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I can still help you. And that's, for lack of better terminology, Berlin, that is boss behavior. Like, that is so real. And I love that. So thank you for sharing that here. Um, I I have to ask you a question. And it may be personal. I don't really think it's personal because it's career based. Um, but would you say that there have been pivotal points in your career, whether you were a corporate girl beforehand or if you've been an entrepreneur from the get from schooling or anything like that, what would you say was like a pivotal moment for you or a turning point, whether it be in your careers or your career here in business, that really like shaped the path that you're on now?
mm. That's a good question. What would I say to that? I mean, I would say, um, yeah, so before this, I was not in corporate. I was doing a lot of like part-time things. I was a photographer's assistant. I was working at coffee shops. I was keeping things really flexible because I didn't know what yet, but I knew that like I was gonna do my own thing in some level, and I was still like
Mhm.
giving myself the flexibility to figure that out. So then, um, once that started picking up in like 2020, 2021, it really just fell into my lap. I got super busy and like I wasn't saying no to clients. So I was like, okay, well, I'm obviously way above my capacity. So I guess that means I'm gonna grow and expand. And that was definitely something I've never experienced before. Would love to
Mhm.
redo that scenario again. But like I really exploded. I started bringing people onto my team. I had to learn all the business things like right away. So that was definitely a moment. Lots of learning there. And then I would say even in this like last year is another moment where I'm just kind of like, okay, like what's happening now? I'm really focused in on like my business and what I specialize in and who I want to work with and how I want to like grow brands and like what value do I bring. Um and so by doing that, like I've really elevated Plant to Marketing and like the clients that
Mhm.
we work with are more like established small to mid-sized brands. And so bringing in the greenhouse kind of really helped me separate those two, and I was still able to work with small businesses or solopreneurs under that community space and like compromise in that way. So that was another big pivot, and now I'm just kind of like, okay, well, now how do I grow Planting Marketing back to what it used to be? Where do I find these big clients? How do I sell? How do I do all of that stuff? So that's kind of, I would say, like the three big moments in my business.
Wow. It feels like it feels like almost in some capacity or another you have snowballed the growth effect, because like you were saying, like, I was in this place and then I just pushed it a little harder and now I went this way, and it's allowed me to like divvy up my businesses in two places and keep you in the learning space. And I think that is probably the best place to be when it comes to being a business owner, because you want to you want to always be in that green mode. You always want to be growing. You always want to be like there because once you're ripe, that the only place to go from there is to essentially degenerate the business. Um so to hear that you like just essentially have consistently kept learning and kept changing and moving things around, that's what it's about, right? That's what it means to be a business owner.
Mhm.
So, is there anything now looking back over the last 5 to 7 years that maybe you would have done differently or that you would have maybe done without?
Mm. Um, luckily, I live my life very regret-free. I wouldn't
I love
say
that.
I don't know. I feel like I probably could have handled things better, but I only know that because I did it and was like, okay, that
Mm.
wasn't, So I don't know. I think I feel pretty good. It's all really been a learning experience. Everything I've done, I'm like, oh, okay, like this is my takeaway from that. And I think that's what's really valuable too, is just knowing like this is what I learned from this, and everything is like a growing experience. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel good, I guess.
Well, that's great that you have that outlook because sometimes whenever I ask this question, people are so quick to be like, I would have done more of this. And while that's still just as important, I
Hmm.
love that you were like, well, I have learned a lot, but like I wouldn't undo it because I wouldn't have learned it. And I feel like that's so real because I did an episode on this a couple weeks ago where I talked about like how being afraid, like not taking the risk is what's holding us back.
Hmm.
And a lot of my listeners messaged me and they were like, "Oh my gosh, that is so real. Like I should just do it because I'm going to be afraid regardless." So it's great that you're like, "Yeah, I mean, I could have changed a couple things, I guess." But you're like, "But at the same time, I learned so much that I wouldn't take it back." So,
Yeah.
well,
But
we do love that. So, what are some kind of winding down a little bit? What would you say are some misconceptions about your field or maybe about entrepreneurship that you have heard before and maybe you have a different take on them or you've handled it differently than others?
mhm. There are so many like misconceptions with marketing, and I'm going to say two very conflicting things. One is that it's very overcomplicated, and one that it's very simple. So, what I mean by that is like on the solopreneur side, if you are doing your own marketing, it doesn't need to be this huge, overcomplicated thing. It can really just be like you showing up, especially if you are the face of your business, which you typically are in that stage. Just you like showing up and being authentic is and being consistent with that is a really good way to just kind of like build a really strong foundation for your brand and for your audience. Um, that's on the solopreneur side. So then to contradict that, um, marketing can be very complex. There's a lot of psychology in that. And so when it comes to like more established brands, a lot of people think it's like just very easy to just like make a social post and to just like write a little blog and stuff, but there's a lot of like work that goes into it. So I think there are two very different levels in marketing, and both have like a lot of misunderstandings about like the work that goes into it. Um, but what I would say is if you are a solopreneur and doing your own marketing and doing your own every single thing there is to do, just know
Mhm.
like you showing up and being consistent is the most important part. So just keep doing it.
Awesome. I do think that consistency over everything else is what propels,
Hmm.
I would say, anything in business or anything in life is no, you're not going to lose 20 pounds from one gym session.
Yeah.
But if you go consistently for 30 minutes every 4 to 5 days, that kind of thing, you're going to see results. So there's key in the consistency.
Hmm.
So where can we find you, Berlin? Where are like the social media platforms, the websites, the where can we find you? Where can we connect with you?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So I'm on every social platform. I made things really hard
Mhm.
for myself. Um, you can find me at plantmarketing.com, and then my handle is plantmarketing on every social platform. If you go to plantmarketing.com and go to the small business resource page, there's tons of free resources to help you kind of get started and organize and doing things. You can also learn about the greenhouse. So if you're a solopreneur and are feeling personally victimized by everything on the internet and want to learn how to make marketing easy for you, I can help you out in the greenhouse. And for all podcast listeners, I offer an $11 membership, so super discounted. So just use podcast at checkout, and I hope to see you there.
I love that. Well, Berlin, thank you so much for connecting with me today, for speaking to the You the Boss listeners. I will have all the information provided by Berlin. I will have that in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah.